Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pittman's Pit for my WWE Smackdown Live review. Overall, last night's show was very incredible, and honestly, than Raw was the night before. I'll be saving the opening promo and pairing that with the main event segment because I believe that since they both had the same characters and overall told the same story, I believe it would flow better to talk about them together. So, I will be starting this review with the very first official match of the night, which was a no disqualification match between Kane and Randy Orton. This came after last week Randy Orton RKO'd Kane to inexplicably assist Bray Wyatt, who he's been feuding with for months. And now, for some reason, it appears Randy Orton has joined Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. I have no idea why, but honestly, I'm starting to like where it's going. The match was fairly standard and pretty good for a no disqualification match. Midway through, just as it was picking up, Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper, the Wyatt family, came out and they distracted and beat up Kane to help Randy Orton get the upper hand as he hit the RKO on Kane to pin him 1, 2, 3. Later in the night, Randy Orton cut a promo with the Wyatt family looking on, and he said that throughout his entire life he knew he was born with the devil inside him, and that he is tired of fighting that. And then he looked at Bray and said, "Bray, you were right. You are a god." And then they did this really cool thing where Orton's eyes flickered gold for a second. Honestly, I thought that was cool. I think this allegiance between Orton and the Wyatt family, I like where that's going. Where Luke Harper looks like he's not entirely trusting of Randy Orton and doesn't really like the idea of him being around Bray. I like this different vibe that they're trying to go with. Honestly, I think what's going to happen is that Orton is just using this to cause a rift between Harper and Bray so that he can get inside their heads and throw them off their game to eventually get the upper hand and finally be able to beat Bray Wyatt fair and square by having Luke Harper abandon him so that he has to face Orton alone because he knows that if Bray doesn't have help, Orton's got it in the bag. He could easily destroy Bray Wyatt on his own as long as nobody comes to help Bray. Next up, we had a tag team match for the women's division where Smackdown Women's Champion Becky Lynch teamed with Nikki Bella to take on the team of Carmella and Alexa Bliss. Now, honestly, I'm loving what SmackDown has been doing with all four of these women. Becky Lynch has been deserving of a world championship push in the women's division for years now. And the fact that they finally gave her one on SmackDown, I'm all for that. I am all in with the last kicker. Nikki Bella, I'll admit, when she was first starting up, and over the years, I didn't really like her. But lately, she's really been growing on me, especially that stiff elbow that she does. I really like that. And it's kind of weird that she just recently started using the STF and she already applies it better than Cena, who has been using that move for years. And yet when she does it, it looks a million times better than he ever did. Then we get Carmella. I'll admit, I found it a little confusing at first because she was always, the good girl. in NXT. She was always, smiling, waving to the crowd, how you doing, that kind of thing. Same as Enzo and Cass in a lot of ways. But now, basically, she's like, screw all that, it ain't working for me. So I'm here, I'm gonna make an impact. And now she's gonna beat up Nikki Bella any chance that she has. So, I love that. She's this trash talking, take no prisoners, just douche of a girl. And I like that. Then you have Alexa Bliss. Honestly, what is not to like about her? Whether it's her facial expressions, her acting, her stuck up, I'm better than you and I'm gonna prove it attitude that she has, the athleticism she has in the ring, the fact that I'm a bit of a geek and she looks like Harley Quinn in some ways, I'm all for every bit of it. And the fact that they have her calling out Becky Lynch, saying that she was a coward, saying that the reason at the last SmackDown pay-per-view that Becky didn't end up fighting Alexa Bliss wasn't because of some injury, which it actually was, but it was actually, in Alexa's eyes, because Becky is supposedly afraid of her, and she knew that Alexa was gonna win that championship, so she decided not to show up to work that day. Honestly, the fans all know it's not true, but that's the dang point. And honestly, as a bad guy, that's what the hell she should be saying. And I love the DDT. He's taking a page right out of the Jake the Snake Roberts and making that move look vicious, making it look like a legitimate finisher again. I'm tired of these old school finishers being used as just random ass moves nowadays that everybody and their grandma can freaking kick out of. I am tired of that. Now that we have somebody using one of these old school moves, like the DDT, and actually making it look vicious and look like something that a person shouldn't be able to kick out of again, I'm honestly couldn't be happier about it. I really hope that this goes somewhere, and I'm a little disappointed that Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, instead of having a singles match at Survivor Series, they're gonna be on Team Smackdown for the women's 5-on-5 match. But the more I think about it, I did a big rant on it on my Raw review, but the more I think about it, if we're really supposed to believe that this match is supposed to be the 5 best of Raw and the 5 best of SmackDown in these different tag team, singles, and women's singles divisions, if we're really supposed to believe that these are supposed to be the best of Raw and the best of SmackDown in these divisions, going head to head, then honestly, you need to have your champions of these divisions in these matches. Yes, I stand by the fact that it freaking sucks that we're not gonna get any title defenses except maybe the Cruiserweight, and later in the night we found out the Intercontinental Championship will be on the line, so at least that's good. At least that's a title with prestige that we're gonna see on the show. But overall, I kinda am starting to understand why these titles are not being defended, because if it's supposed to be the best of the best going head to head, then if you say that your champions are not the best of the best, why are you promoting them as your champions in the first place? I completely understand that now. It does suck that we're not going to see them defending their titles, but I think that I might have been wrong about whether or not they should. In this particular situation, maybe it makes sense that you put them in these matches instead. Alright, so next up, after we got through the Alexa Bliss situation and her beating Becky Lynch with the DDT, after we got through with that, we got the Headbangers, who are a tag team from the past. I think they might have been from the 80s, but I didn't really watch back. I wasn't even alive back then. So, I don't really remember them. And they took on the Usos, who have gone from one of the most generic, boring babyface white meat tag teams in recent memory that I could even remember to this badass, vicious, stuck up, but brutal and in your face team that is on the roster right now. I love the way that they are just, they're ruffians. They are absolute brutes. And they are what Samoan wrestlers have been throughout the years. They're promoted, for better or worse, in my opinion for better, as animals. Absolute destroyers. The way that they target people's legs and then do this one move where one of them has one of their opponents in a single leg crab, and then the other one jumps off the turnbuckle and bam, hits a freaking Samoan splash on the leg that's freaking bent backwards and forwards and all these other ways, bent like a freaking pretzel. That is a move that looked like it's gonna freaking hurt and put somebody out. Honestly, I think these guys should be the tag team champions. If not for the fact that despite how dorky it is, honestly, Heath Slater and Rhino, that's the funniest thing I've seen in years. And honestly, I want to keep that going. And then later in the night, you had the Spirit Squad, who a tag team from the past that I remember, but frankly, I don't really want to see them back anymore. I'm sorry, they were stupid then, they're stupid now. I just don't freaking get it. The only thing that they ever got good out of them was the fact that they gave us Dolph Ziggler, and honestly, even he, I've come to realize over the years, isn't that good. I'm sorry, but you know it to be true. Deep in your hearts, you know it to be true. Dolph Ziggler is not that good. They promote him like he's some sort of next Shawn Michaels to this generation. He couldn't shine Shawn Michaels' boots. He isn't worthy of tying the laces of Shawn Michaels' boots. Honestly, I've just had enough of him. And the Spirit Squad is one of the stupidest tag teams in history, especially since they gave us a guy like him that could get to this overrated level. But the squad ended up facing, I believe it was American Alpha. Now that is a tag team. That is a freaking team to be feared. I love how there's this amateur wrestling throwback. They're over as hell. They are athletic. They're charismatic. They know how to wrestle. They know how to talk on the mic. They know how to work a crowd. They know how to pour emotion out of the crowd. Honestly, I see these guys being tag team champions multiple times over the years and being top tier stars of the company for years to come. I could definitely see that happen. So ultimately, the decision that needed to happen is what ended up happening. Alpha, the American Alpha, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, end up beating the BS Spirit Squad. They end up beating them with their grand altitude, and that is exactly what needed to be happening. Both of those matches, the Headbangers versus Usos, and Alpha versus the Spirit Squad, were both qualifying matches for the tag team 5-on-5, for the tag team division, Raw versus Smackdown Survivor Series match. So now, Heath Slater and Rhino, American Alpha, and the Usos are going to be 3 of the 5 teams representing WWE SmackDown Live against Raw. The only real team that I could think of that has been officially announced for the tag team division is the New Day. Which two of them are going to be competing? I don't know. Personally, I'd like to see Kofi and Big E just because I like them the best. But Xavier Woods is good too. But ultimately, they're doing these qualifying matches to build up for Survivor Series, but they aren't really doing that good a job of really making me care about who's gonna win. And they haven't really shown any kind of animosity between Raw and SmackDown. Like, it's supposed to be this grudge match between the friends, but they haven't really shown anything that makes me think there's any bad blood at all between them. Other than the fact that Shane McMahon is running one brand and Stephanie McMahon is running one, and they don't get along as well anymore. But other than that, and they haven't even really talked much about that. So, it just doesn't really feel like there's any kind of reason for Raw and SmackDown to be competing other than ratings or whatever. But I digress. These matches are still looking like they're going to be pretty good. And I'm sure they're going to turn out great. So, later in the night, what we ended up seeing is that Naomi, Carmella, Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, and Alexa Bliss are going to be your 5 women in the women's division tag team match. And they did a segment earlier where Natalya, who for some reason has been quoting female soul singers from the past. Last week she quoted Whitney Houston. This week she quoted Aretha Franklin. Started talking about respect. And I don't really know where they're going with that, but either way, they made Natalya the coach. And it just makes me wonder, this is how stacked your tag team, your women's division on SmackDown is compared to Raw. On Raw, you have a lot of great wrestlers, but you haven't done a lot of good building them up. On SmackDown, you built up so many that you could literally interchange who you put on this team. Like, you could easily put Natalya over Becky Lynch, or over Alexa Bliss. You probably can't put her over Becky, because she's the women's champion. You gotta have her in. But you could easily have Natalya over Carmella, or freaking Nikki Bella do something different. Where has Eva Marie been? I know the fans hate her because they say she can't wrestle, but frankly I haven't seen her in months. Where has she been? I loved those promos that they used to do for her, where she'd do that whole, have the announcer talking about how awesome she is, and like how spellbinding and mesmerizing and all this other garbage. You know, trying to hype her up. And then next thing she'd come out and her opponent would be expected to fight her, and she'd be nowhere in the building. I thought that was funny, but they just dropped it like a bad habit. I digress. Either way, no matter who you put in this team for the women's division, it's gonna be great. And honestly, I think that if they didn't have people like Bayley, Sasha, and Charlotte in the Raw women's division, I'd honestly say that, actually, even with them there, as great as those 3 are, I think overall, top to bottom, as far as equality and people getting proper time to shine, I think SmackDown might have the better women's division. They definitely have the better tag division. the only real thing that Raw has going for it is its main event scene, and even that's kind of questionable. So, after we got that segment of who's going to be on the women's division team for SmackDown, we got a Miz TV segment. And let me just say this. I am a massive Miz fit. I am a huge fan of the Miz. I love the guy's work. The way he comes out and he's got this movie star clothing and like he's got this smug grin on his face like my people when every single one of them is booing him. And he's got the shades, he's got the hot wife, he's got the attitude of I'm the star, I am the main event, any match that I'm in is the main event. And yet he always finds these ways to cheat and to get one up on his opponents without ever really truly fighting them. Honestly, I don't know what it is about him, but he's putting on these great epic matches on top of it all. And I'm just a huge fan of him, which made me a little disappointed that ultimately your SmackDown men's team includes Randy Orton, good choice, AJ Styles, phenomenal choice, no pun intended, Dean Ambrose, great choice again, let's see, Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, yeah, great choices, Baron Corbin, that's a questionable one, what's he really done since he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal back in WrestleMania, which was months ago. What's he really done since? And Bray Wyatt is the other one. He's another. He's kind of iffy, but he's a great worker, so I'll take it. But really, you're gonna have Baron Corbin, who hasn't really done anything, over The Miz, who has been killing it, and over Dolph Ziggler, who, even if I don't really like him and I think he's overrated, which I do, he's your Intercontinental Champion right now. You're gonna have Baron Corbin and Bray Wyatt, who has only now been getting promoted properly now, over consistent stars, one of them being your Intercontinental Champion in Dolph Ziggler and The Miz. I don't really get the logic of that. I'm sorry. And another thing I really don't get the logic of is, like, Daniel Bryan said it was because Miz is proving that he's afraid to fight. Because of all the cheap ways that he finds to get out of his matches. And to, sneak away with the wins 90% of the time. But, honestly, if I'm Daniel, I don't really care if he's cheating or not. If he's winning, we need somebody like that on the team who is gonna find a way to win no matter what. I get where he was going with this, that he was trying to work the crowd and say that basically we don't like cowards on our team, but I don't really give a damn anymore. Like, if he's winning, you put him on that damn team. Honestly, I just don't really get it. And if I'm Dolph Ziggler, I'm really pissed at Daniel Bryan right now, to be honest with you. Because Daniel Bryan goes and puts Dolph Ziggler in this open challenge match for the Intercontinental Championship. If I'm Dolph, I'm really pissed at that because I'm like, okay, so you want me to go out there, defend my championship, and you're not even going to tell me who I'm fighting against? I think that's some BS right there. So, I don't really get the logic of that. And then, after it ends up being Kurt Hawkins, and one super kick ends the damn match, Dolph just randomly throws out another open challenge at Survivor Series against anybody on Raw. Now, granted, the possibilities of who they could have on Raw to face Dolph Ziggler, that's interesting. But really, if I'm Daniel Bryan, I'm like, hold on a second, that's a SmackDown championship, a SmackDown exclusive championship. You can't defend this and possibly get it taken over to Raw. Yeah, we're not letting that happen. You're doing an open challenge, sure, but it's against anybody on SmackDown, I'm saying, if I'm Daniel Bryan. So, that's my only real gripes about it. Other than that, I love the back and forth of how one's calling the other a coward, Daniel calling Miz a coward, and Miz is saying, no, you're the coward because you're the one that retired. You're the one that refuses to do this anymore. And honestly, I'm just loving the interaction of that. So, I'm looking to see where it goes. Hopefully, it's going to build up to a no-holds-barred match where Daniel Bryan comes out of retirement for one night only against The Miz in a no-holds-barred, no disqualification match. Because, think about it, I know he's got concussion problems, but Miz can easily switch up and do all these things like he can use the leg lock holds like his figure 4 that he used to use. He can use, chairs to the back. He can use moves that don't have to focus on the head to risk Daniel Bryan getting another concussion. He can do these things that Daniel Bryan can still be safe, and they can have a good match back and forth. And overall, it just seems like a proper progression, a proper end to where this storyline goes to have it be that big final farewell for Daniel Bryan. That we get one last match out of him, and then he can ride off into the sunset and continue to be the WWE SmackDown General Manager. I think that's just a proper farewell for him. So, ultimately, the end of the show, centered around James Ellsworth, AJ Styles, and Dean Ambrose. The whole thing of the whole night was Dean Ambrose had a one-on-one match with Dolph Ziggler. No, with Dean Ambrose had a match against AJ Styles. Sorry. I talked about it so much, I'm thinking about it again. Sorry. So, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, and if Dean won, he'd get a number one contender spot. So they built up this thing about they had done it last week, and James Ellsworth, this scrawny jobber dude, this guy that is just literally toothpick physique. And he ended up costing, accidentally, Dean Ambrose the match last week. So they banned him from ringside. And then, later in the night, when the match actually happens, what happens? Freaking James Ellsworth shows up again, and he's running around the arena, running around the crowd, like he's the freaking Roadrunner or something like that. And honestly, I know I shouldn't like it. I know I should be ticked that AJ Styles' World Championship run is just becoming this thing of basically you're just using it to, you're just using it to build up James Ellsworth, who's not going to be anything for you. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed in that, but overall, it's just funny. I'm sorry. I am laughing my ass off at this. It is freaking hilarious. So, I'm honestly gonna give it a pass. I'm sorry. Yes, AJ Styles is an amazing wrestler. He has been for years. And deserves to actually be taken seriously and to be booked seriously. But I mean, seriously, it's not gonna hurt him. He's beaten Cena more times this year than I remember him losing in damn 10. So obviously, I think he can take it. I think he can manage to not be hurt by helping out this guy that's trying to get some extra exposure. And really, it's not gonna hurt. Although I find it kind of funny that Ellsworth is, for 1 week or two, he was the top merchandise seller in the WWE the same week that Goldberg came back. The same week Goldberg came back, they freaking had him. There's no kid having freaking kid trailer park looking. This no-name jobber was out selling Goldberg for a week. I'm like, okay, what the hell happened there? But like I said, overall, I don't really care. I'm just having fun with it, and that's why I actually like Smackdown. Because for once, it actually gave me a good show, and it let me have fun with it. It's booking it in a way that I can actually just sit back, and yes, I do these reviews, but I don't ultimately have to be so damn critical. I can just sit back and relax and enjoy the show. And on that note, I hope you have enjoyed my show. Again, my name is Jonathon, the Hot Wheels Pittman. This has been Pittman's Pit, and thank you for tuning in. Come back tomorrow for my NXT review. And until then, so long from the pit.